Hi there, and welcome to this presentation on interviewing potential TASSers and TASPers for Telluride Association. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you can direct them to interview@tellurideassociation.org. You can also email that address to set up a time to talk on the phone if you prefer. First of all, thank you so much for volunteering to interview. This is a very time-intensive process, selecting students for TASS and TASP, and we couldn't do it without the support of interviewers like you. Although we do our best to get as much information as possible from the written applications, the interviews really give us key information about students that help us make our final selection. When setting up the interview, you should contact students as soon as possible. Many students have spring break towards the end of March, so it's important to set up a time to meet with them as soon as you can. You should arrange to have 1 to 3 interviewers present. If you are an interview chair, then you will be selecting co-interviewers. Otherwise, someone has probably contacted you in order to interview. You should also choose a location. If you're not familiar with the local area, the applicant may have suggestions. Otherwise, we would suggest coffee shops or other relatively quiet, neutral areas. During the interview, there shouldn't be friends, classmates, or parents in earshot, so try to find somewhere that is in a public space but relatively private. Before the interview, it's important that you read all of the applicant's essays, that you review the report format, which has changed from last year a bit and has changed significantly from the year before then. Shown is the Google form of the report format. You can also choose to submit your report as a Word document with a given template. You should also formulate questions to ask during the interview and review the rubric that you will use to evaluate the student numerically at the end. We developed this rubric recently, and we ask you to score the applicant based on their intellectual engagement and give them a community and democracy score. You can see a screenshot of the rubric there, but it is also an attachment to the email that you have received. For new interviewers, we also recommend reading the sample interview report that should be attached to the email, and to be proactive about emailing interview@tellurideassociation.org with any questions you have, or again, to set up a time to call if you have any questions. When developing questions to ask during the interview, there are a few things to consider. First, we have developed control questions to ask. This helps us be consistent across interviewers and compare answers from one student to the next in terms of their strength. The control questions this year for both TASS and TASP are: describe your high school and high school experience. What obligations does a citizen in a democracy have? TASS or TASP involves democratic self-government, intellectual inquiry, and a focus on building a community. Which of these 3 do you feel the most excited about and why? Which do you think you will contribute to the most? And then finally for TASS, the final control question is: why does racism persist? And for TASP with a P, the final control question is: what characteristics would a form of artificial intelligence need to have and why? All of this information is in the Google form that has the control question, so you can see it there. When you are forming your own questions, you should probe the applicant's ability to take a different position from one that they have taken, to think abstractly if they have shown mostly that they are thinking concretely, to think concretely if they have mostly abstract thoughts, to reflect upon themselves and their experiences, and to respond to a new idea or new information. You can base your questions on essays, the media that they have listed in their application, media that have come out that they are likely to be familiar with, current events, or anything of the sort. During the interview, you should take notes so that it's easy to remember what the applicant said. If there's more than one interviewer, you should designate a note taker so that you can have very detailed notes. You should try to set a friendly tone to put the applicant at ease. For many students, this might be their first interview and they are probably quite nervous, so do what you can to make them feel comfortable. Feel free to ask follow-up questions to the students where necessary. whether they give a response that just lends itself to a good follow-up question or they take the conversation in an interesting direction. Feel free to ask more questions. Please remind applicants that travel and work replacement stipends are available. We're trying to make it very clear to students that all students, regardless of financial need, should be able to attend. And please ask the applicants if they have any questions for you as well. The interview overall should be approximately 45 minutes. Right around 40 to 60 minutes would be the ideal time frame. After the interview, you should write the interview report. You should use the Google form or the provided Word document template. We do recommend that if you use the Google form, that you write your answers somewhere else where you can save them, since Google Forms do not allow you to save your work as you go. The form has changed from the previous year and is different from the free-form responses of a couple of years ago, so please do take a look at the report form ahead of time so that you know what you will need to answer. Generally, it is summarizing the applicant's responses to the control questions and a couple of shorter questions, and then a free-form explanation of how the rest of the interview went. While you are writing the report, please be as specific and detailed as you can. The more examples, the better, so that we can really see where the applicant shone and what weaknesses they had. Please use the rubric to score the applicant. You see again that screenshot of the rubric, but that should be attached as well. You're going to score them based on their intellectual engagement, with 4 being the highest score, and on their community and democracy. So that would also be out of a high score of 4. Please do submit the report by the deadline. It's very important that we have all the reports in time so that we have the information we need when we have our selection meeting in April. And if you did have an interview transcript in addition to the report, you can email that to interview@tellyourassociation.org. Thank you so much for watching this summary of the interview process. If you have any questions, please email interview@tellyourassociation.org. And again, thank you so much for your time as well during the interview process.